Thanks for joining us this morning as we review the movie Time Trap, otherwise known as...
I'm too stupid to live in normal time.
You're too stupid to what?
Live in normal time.
Live in normal time. I think that pretty much nails this one. What if you are stuck in a place where time flows differently and you can't control it? That's the main premise behind the movie Time Trap. In a remote Texas cave, a team of adventurers stumbles upon a secret hidden for millennia. But what they find is beyond their wildest imaginations. Trapped in a place where time moves differently, every second counts. In a race against time, or be trapped forever. Dun dun dun. In other words, Time Trap follows a group of students who venture into a mysterious cave in search for their missing professor, only to discover that time within the cave operates differently, leading to unexpected and perilous consequences. As they delve deeper, they must navigate the temporal anomaly to find a way out before it's too late. Spoiler-free review. Before we move on, please take a moment and like and subscribe this video. And subscribe to my channel, not subscribe to this video.
Well, if you really like the video, you can subscribe to the video too. I'm not going to complain.
I don't know how you would do that. And if you find out you don't like the review, you can always unlike later and unlike twice, just for the spite of it. You can do that. Eric, what would you rate this movie on a scale from 1 to 10?
I'd say 6. 6 out of 10.
Okay. Why is that?
There are some serious plot holes as well as some serious, just a whole very contrived at the beginning in order to get all these characters involved. After that, it's very interesting concept. I think that's the saving grace of this. Very interesting concept itself.
Okay. Well, for once, I think we're both on the same rating. I would also give it a 6. It was mixed. I likewise was mixed with it. I gave it an 8 for the premise. I thought the premise was a really cool idea. 4 for execution, and 6 just for campy enjoyment. It just
sounds like about right. Yeah.
If you go in the mindset that this may be a B movie, and
this is definitely a B
you're
movie.
just like, I'm just going to blow off some steam and do this, and don't have a whole lot of expectations for it. It might meet that. But as far as if it were just by itself without the good premise to it, the good concept behind it, I would say that it would be a 4 because a bunch of the acting, the plot holes, I think, were really what was do it. Is you look at it and say, that really doesn't make sense, the way the characters did things. But we'll get more into that in the spoiler version, unless you want to add something to that.
No, I want to add something because since it's the premise that they get into this cave and they're stuck in time. This is very interesting because it's got parallels that we can pull out here to the 7 Sleepers of Ephesus, which are
the what?
The 7 Sleepers of Ephesus, which is a Christian legend where you have 7 young men who are being persecuted by the Romans, go up and hide in this cave and fall asleep and sleep for 300 years, come out later, and Christianity has become the religion of Rome. Funny enough, this actually gets put into the Quran in Quran 18. It's put as the word of God, Allah coming down and saying that this actually happened.
Wow. Okay.
So interesting parallels to that. I think that's one of the reasons why I kept watching is because I wanted to see how this parallel panned out.
And you had to do a review on it this morning, so you had to watch it either way, right?
True.
Or you could just say,
I'm just going to read the other reviews and put my own in. I'm just going to copy what everybody else said.
But you didn't do that. You actually watched it.
No, I actually struggled through and watched it.
Oh, come on. It wasn't that bad. It gave me the sense of nostalgia, like watching a 1970s TV show when I was a kid. 9, 10 years old. The land of the law. You never saw that. It
No.
was campy as far. It was the definition of campy. But for a 10-year-old, that was a cool thing. This family is doing the raft. They get sucked into, I think it was maybe a tunnel they go into, and they get sucked into this like time space vortex, and they end up in this land of the dinosaurs. And they have these creepy creatures that are reptilian, called Sleestack, that come after, and they got these big eyes and stuff like that. Used to scare my brother. Holy cow. But anyway, I was
other than childhood trauma.
That this reminded me of. Little Stockholm syndrome. I like the trauma now. I want to see more of it. I was hoping this would be a family friendly movie that you could just put down and say, hey, just kick it back with the kids a little bit and watch it. But I couldn't even put it with that, because there were innuendos and tasteless passes by the kid named Furby. That guy was just annoying.
No, his parents were mean.
Parents
were mean. They named the kid Furby. Really?
Well, is that his real name? Okay, I guess it could have been his real name, right? Instead of just like a nickname.
That's the only thing they referred to him as.
That's true.
It was
there
not
was
like a nickname.
So you got that going on. There's some minor violence and blood, which to me it was like, yeah, maybe that would put it on a PG rating. I don't. Yeah, definitely. It wouldn't be a G. It would be a PG. And then there's the foul language that was in there that would bump it up to PG-13. So some of the younger viewers, they wouldn't be able to watch it. But overall, cool. So cast of characters. Let's take a look at them. We have Professor James Hopper, played by Andrew Wilson. He is the archaeologist who initially discovers the cave and becomes trapped inside. His disappearance prompts the students to embark on their rescue mission. Hopper's knowledge and discoveries are pivotal to understand the cave's time distortion. Too bad he wasn't around very much to tell his students about it.
Well, he's just an idiot.
Well,
I mean, seriously, he violated some of the very basic principles of don't do this if you ever go camping or hiking anywhere.
There was a lot of that. There was a lot of that going on. Okay. Spoilers.
As a scoutmaster, man, that just stuck out. It's like, dude, no,
you were in the Boy Scouts,
stop.
right?
Yes.
At a time, and you were a scoutmaster.
Yeah. Don't know.
And there were some. You're just cringing on some of the rules. No, don't do that.
Basic rules. Don't do that.
Yeah, when we get to the spoiler section, we'll talk about some of the rules of it. This is hey, there you go. This is a good how not to video. How not to go camping, how not to go cave spelunking, right?
Yeah.
How not to go venturing into time warps, right?
Yes. Very basic.
Okay. So if you're a time traveler, a novice time traveler, this is a good movie for you to watch and know how not to do it. And then we got Taylor, played by Riley McClendon. She is a graduate student and one of Professor Hopper's mentees. She helps lead the group into the cave in search of Hopper and takes a leadership role with Taylor as well. They're sort of buddies. Then we've got
the worst babysitter ever.
No, yeah. Clara, she is played by Cassie Guilford. She is a friend of Taylor's and Jackie's and joins the expeditions. She's brave and determined and contributing to the group's survival despite the overwhelming challenges they face. So we got Taylor, we got Jackie, Clara, and Vives, which was an unusual name. I've never heard the name Vives before. It almost sounds like the name of a butler. Played by Olivia Dragujevich. Sorry if I'm butchering the name, is Clara's younger sister who tags along in the expedition. Despite her youth, she proves to be courageous and insightful, often providing key observations that help the group. And finally, we have the sidekick, Furby, played by Max Wright. He is the comic relief, so to speak, and tech-savvy member of the group who stays behind because everybody else abandons them. They're terrible babysitters to document their progress, but ends up something happens to him, which I'm not going to say because that'd be spoilers. Okay, so We are now venturing into spoiler territory, so I'm going to put the alert up there. If you have not seen this movie, go for it, and then come back and watch this. We have a number of comments here. We're going to pause and take a look at. Thank you for reminding me, here, brother in Christ, Eric, because I'm a doofus and I would totally forget about doing this. He says, brother in Christ. I would probably go to sleep. I would go to sleep probably. Are you talking about the 7 sleepers of Ephesus? You're talking about the people who are watching this movie. You got to be specific, brother. Both. I don't. Probably both. Who knows?
They were watching this movie, and that's why they fell asleep for 300 years.
No, it wasn't that bad. I mean, they kept you going. I wouldn't say it was on the seat of your pants, but you wanted to see what would happen to them next. We're going back in time to the first Thanksgiving to get turkey off the menu.
Oh my goodness!
Why?
That is B. That's another B movie.
Oh, yes.
Like the
yes.
Thanksgiving movie that's out there.
No, I think there's other Thanksgiving movies, aren't there? But I guess that's a classic. You know what? We probably need to make that a family classic if that's the case there, because that's actually.
I don't know if you want to make
this sounds appropriate. Classic. Why is it that bad?
It's very cheesy.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's probably appropriate for
a kids show. It's not that bad.
Yeah. Okay. So Thomas Hall says, "I'm like your brother in Christ. I've had a hard time enjoying most movies because of serious plot hole issues. I'd like to give it grace, but it's so hard to forgive some things. You know, one thing I found, and you guys tell me if this is true for you, if you got a movie with a lot of humor, or you really like something else in it, you're forgiving of the flaws of the movie. You think, yeah, it was such and such, but it was funny, or I really like the main character or something like that.
Or a movie that doesn't take itself that seriously.
Yeah.
Just in general, and you have story plot holes in it, but the entire movie isn't taking itself seriously.
Okay.
It's okay.
Maybe like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or something.
Yeah.
Who cares if there's a plot hole in that one? It's all tongue in cheek. So
yeah, it's like, the plot holes come along with it. They're assumed.
Yeah. So Damian said, Allah best deceiver.
Yep.
3 is that the chapter and ayah there? Okay.
They deceived and Allah deceived.
354 Quran speech of Allah's. Boy, you just get that sucker memorized, don't you?
Oh.
Yeah, that was probably a key verse there too, to say he's the best of all deceivers. Yeah. And then Sherry, it's good to see you again. Said sounds like a bad knockoff of Timeline, which was an awesome movie. Yeah, it was. That was. We should probably do. I'm kind of steering away a little bit from the older movies because they don't seem to have as much draw as new releases. This is an older one too, but Timeline is one of my favorites. So that would be a
solid one.
That would probably be a good one to do.
And no, this isn't. This is them going into the future, not so much past.
Spoilers, yes, indeed.
So the whole thing is being time trapped.
Well, it could be back or forth. So we got that established. And then Damian says, Drag, thank you for this ignorant American who has the pronunciation wrong. Drag, I think it's Guy Savich. That's a lot easier. Why don't they put hyphens in it like that? It'd be so much easier if they did that. Charlie. Oh, is that a guttural CH? Like Charlie. Charlie, more of an SH. Okay, pronunciation aside, let's delve into the spoiler section. We are in spoiler sections. You're okay in saying that?
I'm fine. We announced that before going into the comments.
You
can do spoilers.
You are true. You are correct. Yeah, I'm going to put that back up there. You're saving grace. The marquee of spoilers is now up, so we can say whatever we want about the movie. Theatrical review. What are your thoughts about? So we do two things. We take a theatrical review approach where we talk about the mechanics of the movie, what worked, what didn't, the plot, the acting, the CGI effects, all that kind of stuff goes into it. And then we delve more into, we take that all the way and we say, okay, now what are the Christian themes in here? What themes can we use as a method to communicate the gospel of grace to people who may be close?
I know I've all heard it before. I don't want to hear it again. It's all nonsense. And then,
crystals open the mind to the other side. So we want to be able to find stories that can break through that wall of darkness to be able to talk to people. And sometimes using analogies from movies are the keys to doing that. So movie stories, whatever the deal is. So what did you like and what did you not like about the movie?
So my wife and I watched this together.
You made her?
Well, she volunteered. I
Okay.
don't know why.
Okay.
So
You did give it a 6 though, so you can't bash it too much.
I can't bash too much.
If you
I
bash
can
it too
bash
much,
at the
I'm going to
beginning.
force
I
that
really
6.
like the concept was really, really good, and that is its saving grace.
Okay, I got to say something before you get into this though. When I was in the 4th grade, and yes, this is like
They had grades back then.
before Noah. So when I was in the 4th grade, there was a small paperback book that I had read, and I had to do a book report on it, stuff like that. Believe it or not, 4th grade, they actually did make you do stuff like that. So when I had read it, it was a story about this guy who had gone into this cave, just this ordinary guy, walked into this cave, and then when he came back out, he was in the Old West, the 1850s, 60s, somewhere around the old West. And he has some interaction with the people there, and then he comes back through the cave and is back in normal time. A simple little short story, that type of thing. And I thought it was really cool. I was so fascinated and that was before my days with Doctor Who and a lot of Star Trek and stuff like that. So that was early sci-fi that really got me hooked. So having this story reflects a lot on that. I almost wonder if the guys who wrote this kind of looked at that and that was the inspiration for part of this movie or not. I don't know. But sorry, had to plug that in there before you did.
Sure.
So there's nostalgia. So it's like, don't beat up on my show too much here.
Oh, I'm definitely beating up on it a little bit.
Oh boy.
What the heck's with the beginning?
What do you mean the beginning?
So the archaeologist goes to the cave, looks into the cave, he finds a van, it's abandoned area, no one's been here for over 10 years, looks in the cave, sees a guy dressed as a cowboy with a drawn pistol.
No, it's still holstered, but it's a pistol. He sees it.
Okay, even holstered.
Okay.
Investigating with like a old-timey lantern.
Just standing there.
And he just looks at the guy and says, "Oh, well, I'm going home now." Goes home and goes to bed. Wakes up the next day and comes back. Ooh, what the heck?
Well, I mean, whose land is it? I mean, if he's sneaking on someone else's land, he goes there and he sees a guy with a pistol revolver. I mean, I don't know if I would investigate any further.
The guy's standing there, not moving.
So what? He's staring into the cave.
I don't know if he called out to him or not.
No, I don't think he called out to him.
So he goes back and decides to do another solo mission by himself. Dude, the first thing you do, if you ever do any sort of backpacking or anything, you do not do it alone.
True.
Definitely if you're going into caves, splunking or repelling or whatever.
Yes.
Never, ever, ever, ever do it by yourself.
Well, he had a guy in there with a gun. He wasn't going to be by himself.
Yeah, not by himself. There's an armed individual here that I got no clue about.
Yeah, I would. They did. I don't know if they've established whether it was out somewhere. They have really established who owned that property they're going on. I mean, if you're going to go camping, there's usually campgrounds. There's maybe a state or national park that you can go onto and stuff, and you check it all out, and they got rangers and everything. But if you start going on someone's land, someone's back lot, just exploring, you might be running into trouble.
Yeah, maybe that's the situation. You didn't want to bring anyone else along, but seriously, you still have someone with you. I mean, he had 2 assistants there that he's like absolutely.
He had his dog, Boss, who he left outside, and we do not know what happened to that dog.
That dog's dead.
But the others came back the next day. They would have seen the dog, I would have thought. So that was a little thing like, what happened to the dog? No one cared about poor Boss.
No one cared about the dog.
No. Okay, so what else you got?
I'd say that was one of the major things. And of course, the rest of it's explained as it progresses, but they do a good job on whoever's directing this did a good job on showing the audience what is going on. It's just, I wish the characters weren't morons.
Yeah.
You don't
So
the issue is you're showing the audience what's going on multiple times, but yet the characters
They don't
don't
get it.
come to the same conclusion that the audience has come to until half an hour after the effect.
well, all right. So I'm going to give the writers and the actors some credit. The actors just follow their line. So I'm going to give the writers some grace here. The people that are involved in this cave are supposed to be in real life, right? They did not see the title of this movie being Time Trap. They did not know that they were in a science fiction movie involving time travel, right? So they would not necessarily, if they see light flashing up the hole in the cave, I would have thought that, oh, there's a tree up there, there's some wind, and it's casting some shadows.
Well, that works until you actually see the sun repeatedly going across the sky.
Yeah, that was
really pretty
strange.
obvious.
Yeah.
But that aside, again, it's the writers and director showed the audience long before that connection was made.
True.
And it makes it feel like the characters in there are stupid. And there's other points in the movie where they're like Sherlock Holmes level deduction on some things. And it's like, okay, either these characters are really smart or they're not. Take a pick. I'm fine either way.
Right.
I just want to know which one they are. You can't have both.
Right. Okay. So that's the things you didn't like. What did you like?
What did I like? I love the concept. I love the concept of going into this place and there being time travel involved. You're passing by and come out. It's completely different.
Okay. And besides that, anything else?
I think that was the major effect. The working in the Fountain of Youth. I would love to have actually had more of an explanation than what they gave in the movie.
Okay.
Which was like a lack of hardly anything.
Okay. So what I liked was I liked the premise like you did. I liked the timey-wimey stuff. They were there in the cave for 90 minutes and they figured out with the way the sun, at first I thought, and that was pretty cool. I thought it was just like the original, the time machine where you see the sun go over and it starts flashing more and more, that each flash is a day. But what they did is they said, no, you can see the streak of the sun going back and forth. This is from winter to summer solstice. And that was a second to do that. And if that were the case, then you're looking at 1 year per second in the cave. 1 year passes outside for 1 second in the cave. Somebody did a calculation. They said that if they were in there for 90 minutes, that's 90 times 60. If 1 second is equal to 1 year, you end up with 5,400 years that they're in the cave. That's quite a bit. But there's some plot holes with that. I knew the flashing light that was with the sun, but I thought it was pretty cool that they actually made it per year like that with the progression of the sun. I thought that was a cool way to do it.
I pointed that out to my wife before they got to it because they're looking up through this one little hole and you can see the light line basically going above it and going down.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the only way that would be happening is if it was going per year and you're seeing the movement.
Another thing they had here too was that I liked was the arc ship above the sandstorm. I thought that was pretty cool with the sandstorm coming and showing the changes in the earth over time. And the new twist on the Fountain of Youth. Well, I thought that was a good way to do it, but then they kind of mixed the metaphor there and later. The whole thing was this cave. The people were looking for the Fountain of Youth. Yeah, the conquistadors looking for it. Maybe some Native Americans that are looking for it. Don't know about the whole caveman thing. They were actually looking for the Fountain of Youth, whatever the deal is with that. Then you have people later, his family, Hopper's family from the 1970s, looking for it to heal his sick daughter. It's like, really? You guys really? That's a real long shot. And it's like, maybe they're completely done. No doctors can do anything. We're going to take this long shot with this. Well, yeah, that's true.
They're hippies, so they don't believe in new medicine.
So they went in looking for that, and that's where they got stuck. You have all these different people that are there, and then they said, "Wait a minute, we're actually not aging from relative to the outside. We're basically staying young forever, more or less, or at least for a very long time, for thousands of years, only because we're so slow in this basic suspended animation That would be kind of a really bad way to get eternal youth. Is the world just rushes by behind you?
Well, the major issue with that is, okay, so you have at the center of this is supposed to be the fountain of youth, and this is sort of the effects of the fountain of youth. How did that legend get out?
What do you mean about the
About
original?
the fountain of youth?
About it being with that cave? Because that was actually not the correct location for.
I know it's not the correct location, but the concept of the fountain of youth at all got out, because if you walked into this cave and went to the fountain and drank from the fountain, got healed up, and walked out of this cave,
I see.
you're already past humanity.
You're not talking about the actual origin of the real story. You're talking if someone were to discover
if this was true,
this fountain and walk out, if they were able to walk out to do this. Now you had the one underground, the one main entrance that the professor first found.
you're definitely the problem is, if it's 1 second per year that you're in there, you're already talking about such a huge time gap,
right,
of you being in that cave, that you wouldn't be able to communicate to the people once you got back out. As far as language goes, on top of that, you're already talking about thousands of years.
Maybe if it's thousands, if it takes you that long to get to the source and then out. So I have a couple of comments here I want to hit real quick before I go further into this. Christ Opportunity Dodge said, so good concept, bad execution. Answers, I think we both hit that. I think it's a general consensus that it could have been done. But
as long as you understand that going in, I think you could really still enjoy this movie.
Right. Thomas Hall said, movies are like public school. Your target audience is the lowest denominator. Maybe. We're going to review next week. Next Tuesday, I want to review. I don't see it up. It's missing. Imitation Game, which is going to be that's going to be an intellectual one, and we usually do science fiction or fantasy, but I'm also an historical fiction author, historical science fiction. So I wanted to pull some in with historical as well. And so that's why we're going to be looking at this. There we go with the thumbnail for next week. That's going to be more of an intellectual movie to sit down and think. And it may not be for the dumbed down crowd. Now, there's probably some things that they've done to spice up the movie, maybe alter history a little bit, not tell the actual story, because the actual story might be a little bit more boring. So they'll spice it up maybe. But generally, I haven't seen the movie Oppenheimer. That might be also another good one to watch. I'm not sure how historically accurate that is. Napoleon, I heard, was awful with as far as historical accuracy. But I would say that there are some that you would see that are make you think, that are good, that are not for the lowest common denominator, not just I don't know, like reality TV type of vibe with it. Christ Opportunity Dodge said, if I figured out time travel was real, I'd probably stay paralyzed in shock for a week, contemplating the implications.
Well, that's one of the issues with the characters is, okay, so they lost all their family's dead at a certain point. All their family's dead. Everything's gone from them. And they're like, oh, well.
Yeah.
Let's just keep going on.
Yeah, you're hitting a lot of my points. I'm not going to get to it yet, but yes.
I would expect some of if you had someone who's like, kind of callous, or at least being able to be objective to it, like, okay, that's really bad. Yeah, we just lost everything. But right now, we just need to focus on us surviving this situation and getting out of here. I could see having maybe one of your main characters like that.
Keep a stiff upper lip.
A stiff upper lip. Let's just get through this. Let's shove that to the back of our mind for now and just survive this situation to get out of here. Fine. Okay, cool. I would agree with that. But everyone, including like a 13-year-old kid, who just saw her friend or childhood, like since kindergarten friend, die.
Yeah.
I mean, that would.
Yeah.
I would expect more.
So there were a lot of things. The main characters are stupid. Now I'm going to get to some things I didn't like. Some of the things you already mentioned. They were foolish to leave a 13-year-old on his own, who would be their only hope of rescue. When they leave Kara alone to find out what the noises are, she activates. This is stupid. Do you ever remember that one scene where she's got a sprained ankle or something? She can't spelunk back up, can't climb back up the rope that they had climbed down on. And she's sitting. The others go, let's go find out what the noises are. We'll leave her there by herself. And she's sitting there with the glow sticks going, click. I'm bored. Click. And she's surrounded by all these. Yeah, she's wasting them. She's supposed to be experienced. She's that was
okay. So later on, as they're continuing, they've got the GPS, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't they leave it with a kid on the surface that could use the GPS all by himself in order to send the signal? Because they're not supposed to be able to use this in the cave.
Oh, that's true.
They need connection. The only person that's out there is the kid, and that would have solved the entire movie.
Yeah.
It's because the kid was sent for help instead of staying there for 3 days straight.
So Furby was supposed to be the comic relief, but he was more of a cringe factor, right? He's making all these passes.
A cringe. I mean,
some
he's
funny,
a kid.
It's too much.
So yeah, stupid kid is stupid. So that's fine. I'm not expecting great things out of it.
Okay, so I want to real quickly, I don't want to, because we've already had a lot of negative things. I want to just real quickly go over this. Dramatically involved humans in 5,000 years. Now, if you follow the theory of evolution, a certain species should not dramatically evolve so much that they are unrecognizable from their ancestors within 5,000 years. You usually see a longer. Now, there might be something traumatic where 95% of the species is killed off, and you have certain characteristics then that are amplified by those that exist, sort of like a breeding program. If you think of it like a breeding program, there is no way, unless there is genetic enhancements, and they automatically chose, hey, we're going to do this a certain way. Like, hey, we all like really big eyes because that's the fashion statement of the year. So everybody genetically enhances their children to have these monstrously large eyes.
No parent would ever make a decision like that. That would drastically. No one would ever name their kid Furby.
Yeah. So, and then once they've discovered that they have the Fountain of Youth thing, they got all these dead people around. There's no way of knowing how long was he mostly dead. How long someone could be dead before they dragged them in there, if it was just going to heal stuff or if there were bad side effects. But hey, I'd throw Furby in there to see what happens. You got future spaceman Spiff there lying down to try to rescue everybody. And Tyler was just like sitting back. Okay, I got to stop.
There's a lot of issues.
There is.
The concept is so interesting.
Now, I would have delved into there was a lot of things that could have been delved into more. And one of the things that really bugs me about like the timey-wimey thing, if you have a bubble of time where things are slowed down. By the way, time is relative. Time can slow down under certain circumstances, like if you're in an accelerated frame of reference going extremely fast and accelerating extremely fast, or if you're in a gravity well, an extreme gravity well. There is a time lag. A time slows down here closer to the surface of the Earth than it is as a satellite in space. It's very, very minuscule, but there is a slight difference. We're slightly slowed down here on Earth. So yes, that does happen. We know that's happened. No going back, but you can go forward slower. And but the problem is if you go slower that much, like you're almost frozen in time, light also is going to be shifted. Okay. It still travels the same speed, but what happens, the wavelength gets stretched out. So if I am in a time bubble where I'm slowed down, everybody outside of me, relative and going faster than me, would look at me and I would start to become more and more red. The more I slow down, the redder I would go until light would be beyond the visible spectrum, actually go into radio waves or something like that. We have like the microwave background radiation of the universe was visible light at one time, apparently. And now has been so stretched, the universe has been so stretched that it makes it appear as microwave radiation instead of visible light radiation. So people in these bubbles would be very red shifted, like
If
you're looking
not
through a
even
filter,
visible.
or invisible, because and I'm wondering, you could do the calculations to find out at that time speed that they're going, they would be invisible. Now,
And
it
if
doesn't
that
make a
was
very
the-
good visual.
If
for
that was the
movies.
only issue with this movie, I would ignore it.
Yeah.
Because the concept's interesting. It's very interesting to look through the time bubble and see someone frozen and walk through it, and then they start moving.
Right.
It's very cool concept. I would have liked them definitely to explain the phenomenon a little bit more.
Yes.
Considering they don't ever.
Yeah, so
touch on it.
that's the problem here, is because now if this was a character-driven story that was more character, and there was a little bit of that, but not really focused on that as much. It was more like, we're stuck in this puzzle, we need to get out. If you're stuck in this puzzle, the mechanics of that puzzle are very important, because you want to pull and you want the characters to be smart in figuring out how to get out of the puzzle, or at least strong to be able to get out of it, right? So you have to, through the characters, discover what those boundaries are, what those mechanics are, to be able to get out. And they really didn't explore that. And this is a missed opportunity, I believe, to be able to get into that deeper.
Now, it would have, they could have taken it where they went in, they found out went into the faster time, because you got two bubbles here, went into the closest bubble, found out what the issue was, able to deactivate it and bring everyone back to normal time. That would have been interesting. That would have been them solving the puzzle, and that would have given us answers as far as what is going on here.
Yeah.
So that would have felt a lot more satisfying, in my opinion, at the end. Because it felt like there was a lot of questions.
There were, and I'm going to touch on this here a little bit too, with the possibilities that were lost. This is where the premise was not fully explored, or I don't know if you can really fully explore every premise, but at least explore satisfactorily. I don't think it was, and I think that's where the movie really lost the potential here on doing this. There's a couple of comments here that I wanted to put up. One is from Thomas Hall. I can't recall where I got this, but I've heard that time travel forward is theoretical possible, where backwards it can never work. Yes and no, and I would love to do one on the theory of time travel, especially where it comes related to my book series, because there are a couple of theories that are out there. I don't think it would be possible. There's one that's put up by a professor, Kip Thorne of MIT. It had to do with time travel. It had to do with black wormholes and relativity, being able to do the two. But as I said earlier, you can go forward at different speeds. I can't necessarily speed up, but I can slow down. And if I can make everything around me slow down, it's as if I were to speed up. But going backwards, even with the Kip Thorne thing, Stephen Hawking saying something about radiation feedback would destroy it. But then we've got Damjan Kuchmich said, throw in future can make you expert in history. If someone asks how life looked like in the past, you future self can say, I experienced that. And I'm proud of that. So, yes. The key of the story is being able to get out. What was, sir, there's some other concepts here that they've lost potential in. What about the origins of the cave? Where did this come from? Is this a natural phenomena, or is this man-made?
I'm thinking it's something alien-made.
Could be alien. Could be something.
By some of the writings on
future
the wall.
People. Okay, there was some really weird writing.
There's some really weird.
Why would
a
a spaceman, unless he's got a good can of paint, why would he start writing on the wall?
Well, it was with the cavemen's writings.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that they saw something somewhere.
Oh,
in the
they
cave,
have replicated what
and
they
they
saw.
replicated
Okay.
what they saw
Okay.
on the wall. Which, okay, again, would be interesting. The main characters were exploring it and got those sort of answers.
Yes.
That
Now,
would be cool.
You do, as a writer, you do not want to explore all possibilities. You want to leave some mystery there, some intrigue, but you also don't want to leave so much potential that's there. This could have easily been made into like a miniseries, almost like Lost, that you could do this, these people stuck there. What would you do for food after a certain amount of time? Water, even more important. Well, you got the fountain of life. Can you drink that water, I wonder?
I saw people drinking it, so yeah, I guess you can.
Imagine all the people trapped in that cave from different times interacting with each other. Well, you got interact with the cavemen, and they can't communicate, and they just like go right out, and it's just like they're all Neanderthals. You got Native Americans there. You got the conquistadors. You got 19th century miners or sheriffs. The 1970s family that's there. Possibly advanced human. As people get pulled into this more and more, you could almost start like, we got to figure it out. Then maybe another episode, there's someone else trapped in here. We can start working together, break down the communication barrier, figure out what's going on. We're all going to work together to do this. And then when they get out in the future, they're like living museum for these future people asking the questions. Well, what was going to the movies like for you? That's a very strange concept. We don't understand that. By the way, we may not have that too much longer. I saw them tearing down a theater locally here, just to saying, hey, you know what? There's not a whole lot of people going to theater anymore. I wonder if we're going to be losing that soon. What did Kara do when she was pulled up into the water toward the end of the movie, into the future? She disappeared for a while. It'd be interesting to see what those reactions were. What did the far future humans look like? Not future man Spiff, who gets his helmet knocked off, but the other creepy, long-fingered guys. Boy, if I was going to do any kind of genetic modifications, it would not be looking like those guys.
I would have to wonder what the environment is they're living in that would cause them to think that is a better way, if they're doing genetic modifications,
to adapt
to the situation. Maybe instead of terraforming the world, it's easier to adapt your genome to be able to survive on this world. Actually, that would be very interesting concept.
Well, there was a book that I read about Mars where they did adapt humans. They had they could live with low oxygen, they could live with low temperature, lower gravity. They were adapted genetically to go. It was like the Russian group that was sending people there that they were able to experiment on. They experimented on people to do that, to be able to have the first colony established. That was their method.
Well, that'd be very interesting. Definitely, if you had multiple worlds that were all colonized by these different human varieties, and it's not that you have a bunch of alien species out there, but they kind of look like it because of the different environments that they colonize. That'd be interesting.
There was a miniseries back in the 80s, early 80s, I think. Maybe in late 70s, called The Martian Chronicles. And they had discovered, sent these guys to Mars, these astronauts to Mars. They were hoping to establish a colony, and they came across these creatures that were there. They were hominids. They were basically just like us, except for there were some things that were different about them. And at the end of the series, there was a question left, that they were actually us, that they had just gone back in time, but they had already adapted. Sort of a Twilight Zone type of thing there. So yeah. And what happened when on the ship they were going to Mars? How did the people live and stuff like that? There's so much material that they could have made a little TV miniseries after this. Somebody still can't, because this is unexplored. They could still do this.
So at the very end there, where they're all on the spaceship together and they're about ready to go off, and they look at their professor and they say, "We've got so much to explain." It's very clear that they've been awake for a while, and the professor just woke up from this entire environment, and they're like, "We've got so much to explain." I look at my wife and I say, "It better be on camera, because I'm sick of it being off camera. I want to know what is going on."
Yeah, at the very end, there's like, "Oh, we have so much to explain about them." I thought I would be traumatized at the fact that not only did everybody I know no longer exist, not only did everything about the world that I live on no longer exist, my world no longer exists, and the human race is basically no longer the same species.
Nope. You are the only original humans left.
But I'm excited the fact to be able to tell everybody about what life was like back then.
We're kind of a big deal.
We're kind of a big deal, yes.
Dude, have a little bit of decompression.
That's right. So we got a comment here from Christ Opportunity. He said, "I'm interested on how you can connect such a bad movie with something as good as the gospel." Yeah, so this was tough. And we're going to get in here in just a minute. I wanted to put up one other comment by Nicodemus Serpio said, "Without getting into spoilers, Total Recall miss some aspects of living on Mars, especially the gravity difference. Yeah, that's a good point too, is that there are some missed opportunities with some of these movies. But then again, if you have limited time in a miniseries, you could probably, or in a TV show, you can probably delve deeper into these with more episodes. But if you got just maybe 90 minutes,
I think
or
this movie was only like an hour and a half.
yeah, 90 minutes.
It was a short
yeah,
movie.
so 90 120 minutes to talk about something, you're not going to be able to delve too deeply into some of these things. But yeah, missed opportunities. But you know what, that opens it up for another show or movie to be able to go over those. So thematic review. This is the best part of our review, and we save it for last. We asked, are there any Christian themes in this movie? What themes can you see here that align with the Bible that you can use as a message to speak to somebody else and draw them closer to Christ? Eric, what did you see, if any? And as Christ's opportunity said, there's a challenge in this one to be able to draw it out.
There's one opportunity now. I think it's very hard to pull it out all in all, but it is that even in the darkest times, there's opportunities. There's something good that can come out of even the darkest time periods of our lives.
Okay.
Where you think of Joseph being thrown into prison there with the cupbearer and the baker, and his life felt like it was over. His family's gone, his world's gone. In a lot of ways, there's a lot of parallels to what's going on with these characters here.
Right.
And the Lord was able to restore him in a way.
Yeah.
It wasn't the way he thought. It definitely wasn't the way he was desiring. But it was better than what he could have hoped.
And if you step back, you can see how there is an overall plan to everything in his life.
Yep. I think that would be the best thing to pull out of this movie, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. That's a good one. I have two themes. The first is, you could probably apply this to a lot of movies, but this is probably one of the better movies to apply this to. Before I do, I want to put this one up. I think he was responding to what you just said. Good heavens, a redemption arc. Yes. My first theme, I would say, don't be a fool. And this movie shows why you shouldn't. Proverbs 22:3 says, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Yeah. This verse directly applies to their failure to heed possible dangers in the cave. Everything from don't leave the injured alone by themselves to let somebody know what you're doing and get a clue on what's happening.
Yeah, if these are experienced, and they are experienced, they're cliff divers. Yeah, that's like rule number one. Someone knows where you're going to be, when you're going to be back. Contact, if it's going to be multiple days, you have contact time that you're supposed to get a hold of them. Yeah, it's no.
Proverbs 12:15 says, the way of a fool seems right to him, but the wise listen to advice. The characters forge ahead with their exploration despite potential warnings, taking miners with them, not coal miners into a cave, but children.
Children, yeah.
Without
children
seeking advice or significant
guidance,
reflecting on a fool's tendency to trust in his own judgment over wisdom. Theme 2. The nature of time and eternity. In the movie, the cave's time distortion can be seen as an analogy of the Christian concept of eternity versus temporal life on Earth. Not really the same, because I believe eternity is something that's has a different nature than our time, in analogous to two-dimensional space being different from three-dimensional space. But the Bible often contrasts fleeting nature of earthly life with the eternal nature of God's kingdom. We're only here for 80 years, maybe 100, maybe 120 max. That is nothing compared to the time in eternity. It's minuscule. It diminishes to zero. So store up things in heavenly things instead of earthly things. Focus on that instead of what's here on the. I mean, you have to do a job. You have to take care of physical things here, and you have to care for the sick and needy and stuff like that here too. But it's the things that last that really matter. So we fix our eyes. 2 Corinthians 4:18. We fix our eyes on what is what is seen. Excuse me. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
I would not expect no, that's heresy. Jump into a lake or into a dark cave with time portals.
And if you've suddenly come out of a cave and what was once an arid environment is now lush and green, and your car is completely covered by trees and branches, figure something screwy is going on.
Yeah, get a clue.
Get a clue.
Yeah. So one thing about this too with eternity, this is extrapolating a little bit more off of the comparing time versus eternity, getting a perspective in ourselves to say, listen, why do I concentrate on something that's give my life over to something that is going to perish? It's going to dissolve into dust. Focus more on things that have eternal matters instead. There was a movie that came out a while back, and I don't know if you remember this one or not. It was about this very thing happened to a guy who was able to actually fast forward his life given a remote. And that's sort of reminiscent of that a little bit. Remember the remote here. And what happens is when he speeds up time, he can go on, and then it just breaks, and then he's fast forwards this whole thing. His life passes before his eyes.
Well, if memory serves, it's self-learning. So things that would cause him to fast forward, that he's fast forward in the past, he would then fast forward to the next section.
Yeah.
Like, I want my promotion, fast forward. Okay, well, now I'm talking about promotion, and it automatically assumes that you want to fast forward to when you get that next promotion.
So when you get down to it, time is a gift only spent once. Be mindful on what you spend it on. It's like a Chevy with a broken transmission. You can only go forward, maybe at different speeds, but there's no reverse. Dun, dun, dun.
Always falling forward because we can't find reverse.
That's right. Well, until now, next week, coming up, we're going to be doing this biographical thriller about a mathematician who cracked the German Enigma code during World War II, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Keira Knightley. We review more than just science fiction and fantasy. We'll occasionally look at historical films as well. So again, if you like this video, please share and like it and subscribe to the channel if you would. And until next time, have a fantastic day.